So in this segment, we're going to be discussing essentially this Tory MP going full UKIP in probably one of the most embarrassing ways possible.
You said it was not xenophobic to not want to feel like you're living in a foreign country. And I just wondered, what do you mean like that? What do you mean feeling like you're living in a foreign country?
Well, I think it's I think if you walk into your town centre, and I think if you're hearing almost people speaking English is almost a rarity. You're hearing.
That's not what people find, is there? Come on.
Well, I think lots of people do find that.
88% of people in Ipswich have English as the main language.
Lots of people, when they walk into their town centres and city centres across the country, often feel that way. And I do think there's examples where we've had a lack of integration. I think when you don't get integration, I think this can become a problem. When you get
these are two different things. There, speaking a language, speaking English as your main language. When you're out and about versus integration, these are two different things here, because I don't think you have to speak English when you're outside to integrate. I think knowing English is important. Knowing the language of the country that you are in is important, especially if you're looking to live there permanently. If you're just there for a holiday, I don't think it matters that much. But I think what he's kind of conflating is two different things here. One is integration. One is speaking the common language. And again, if you are a person of a minority background, if English isn't your first language, or you're speaking to someone whose English isn't their first language, sometimes it's just easier to talk whatever language that is in.
Get integration. Diversity is a force for good. It's brilliant. It adds vibrancy to communities. When you don't get integration, when people don't make the effort to integrate, that's when you get the problems. And if you have people in your town centre, your city centre, who aren't making the effort to integrate, who are behaving in a way that isn't in keeping with what people would expect in that area.
What would that be then, to behave in a way that wasn't in keeping with what
so, for example,
so not speaking English?
But that's one element to it. Another element to it.
I mean, he's completely overblowing that one.
For example, is we've got, in the town that I represent, we've got shop theft on the rise. And there is one community that is disproportionately behind the shop theft. And I've been to 12...
Can you tell us what community that is? Really, you should have that at hand if you're going to make such a point.
Only a few months ago, I went to 12 different shops in the town centre with the police superintendent. They all said exactly the same thing. And these are people whose politics were all over the spectrum.
Do you have the data to back that up, or is that just what you've been told in shops?
Well, I mean, no, it's something which is, nobody disputes that locally. Nobody disputes that locally.
But has there been analysis done of...
There is analysis done. There's lots of...
Who by? Do you have it?
But the police have the data. And I think, but every single shop we went to said that. And I think it is... We've got to be open about that.
Shop theft is definitely rising throughout this country. But for him to kind of insinuate that it's being done by minorities or something like that, surely if you're going to make this point, you should come up with the evidence now.
It's a challenge, and I think we've got to work with the community in question to try and deal with that problem. But I think when you get integration, diversity is a force for good, immigration is a force for good. When you don't get integration, it's a big problem. And I think actually that view that I've expressed is actually a mainstream view shared by a majority of people in the country.
I don't think it's a mainstream view shared by the majority of the country, though, is it? The idea that, whatever your definition of integration is, and I've heard many people with many different definitions, like having to, make conversation, do small talk with people at like a bus stop and stuff. I don't think that's not part of integration. I think part of integration is understanding the culture and the language and things like that, and being able to have conversations with people, sure, but not being forced into it, to do small talk because people are bored because they haven't invested in earphones or run out of data or something. Whatever he's defining integration as, I think he should be very clear and define it as properly. Because, would you say that someone like Suella Braverman is integrated into the country when all she does is go after minorities and other groups? Would you say she has integrated well? Is she really a part of British values? Can anyone actually define what British values are? What he's talking, this is just more of the UKIPification of the Tory party. This is all they have. All they have is the culture war. All they have is immigration. That's it. That's all they know, because they can't go on anything else. They can't go on the economy. They can't go on trade. There's nothing left for them to run on. They can't run on NHS, can't run on anything apart from immigration, anything apart from the culture war. And this is just more fire for the culture war. And I would have loved it if Ridge had those statistics at hand. But, I quickly Googled it. I couldn't find it. Which minority is doing the most kind of shoplifting crime in Ipswich. But generally, shops will be concerned by shoplifting, but I'd be more concerned about other types of violent crimes, which Tories aren't really concerned about, given how long it takes to get your day in court. For any of these shops that actually take anyone to court, it takes years. to actually get anywhere. So what he's at, this guy talking about integration, talking about law and order, buddy, your party crashed the judiciary. Your party completely destroyed it. Your party got us into a position where there weren't enough space in the prisons for prisoners. Like, you're one of the last people we need to speak on this issue, because all you're doing is, using dog whistles. That's all you're doing here. You're not actually going to fix the issues at all. Oh, no, I'm so mad people are speaking foreign languages in the town centre. It's like, should we just ban tourists then? What do you want to happen? Because most likely people are going to talk in their first language. If you have tourists from Germany, France, whatever, Singapore or wherever they're from, they're going to speak their first language if they're talking to their family or friends. Do you expect them to speak English to their relatives, which is in their second language? It wouldn't make sense. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Clearly, whoever has the surname Hunt in the Tory party are an absolute bunch of morons. I'll catch you in the next one.